They say the human mind is like a sponge, constantly absorbing new information. Well, I'm about to blow a load of knowledge right into your fucking brain right now. If you're unaware, and you shouldn't be, there's trouble brewing on the game Rust. There's a whole load of drama going on there. It's absolute chaos and pandemonium. Bodies on the street, tears on the keyboard. It is absolutely hectic. And I'm going to go ahead and bring you all up to speed on the lore, why an older game like Rust has all of a sudden exploded. Just take you by the hand and walk you through everything going on right now, because it's drama I want to talk about, because I've been hard addicted to Rust over the last week or so. It's been hitting me harder than heroin. Like, this shit is pretty wild. I absolutely have been loving Rust. And it's pretty sad to see a lot of the drama that's been going on, so I figured I'd at least talk about it since it's been kind of a big debate. So let's start at the beginning. Rust is an older survival game where anything's possible. You're limited only by your imagination and a million other things, but for the most part, you can do a lot of really cool shit in Rust. Rust initially released as early access 7 years ago and then fully released 2 years ago, and there's been a big community around the game, especially on YouTube, a lot of Rust content creators, and it's not like it was an obscure game. Most people had heard of Rust before, but it recently blew up in popularity, going from like 1,000 or 2,000 viewers a day on Twitch to over 1 million a day on Twitch. And it's all thanks to Abe and Offline TV. Abe being the mastermind, the puppet master, aka the blood god. Abe and Offline TV set up a private server where they invited a bunch of their friends, a bunch of streamers to play on, hang out, roleplay, PvP, and just make fun content in the Rust universe. And it was fucking amazing stuff. I was lucky enough to be invited to the server. I got to join Team Rocket and share in that kind of shit. We were like Scooby-Doo villains there, creating great story arcs and great moments, raiding the police station set up by other players. Just really fun shit. But even just the creation of the server wasn't without drama. For some reason, there's like this community of Rust cultists, these Puritans that think there's only one way of playing Rust, which is on public servers, which are notorious for being racist, toxic, and absolutely brutal and no fun to play on. And people just saying like, oh, look at these fucking pussies not even playing real Rust. I still remember the first time I was crying over my keyboard playing Rust. These guys haven't even started the journey into being a real Rust player. And as I've said before, I think there's nothing more sad than these lunch table outcasts that think that their obscure game is only theirs to enjoy and you can only enjoy it in the way that they like to play it. I think that shit is really fucking sad. So you had a whole ton of people melting down about this server even being started in the first place, like, why are these fake Rust players, you know, trying to play the game this way and hijack our game? They're misleading their viewers into thinking this is what Rust is like. Oh, it's so disgusting. For the first couple days I was on this server, there was a few people in chat just fucking melting down about me not playing Rust the right way, because I was using push to talk to like joke around with friends and roleplay and shit. And not like lame roleplay. I roleplay as a waste management service worker, the king of trash, the trash god. So, like, actual cool roleplay. And people were still melting down like, oh, you're supposed to use voice chat for insults and racist slurs. What the fuck are you doing? This is not how Rust is supposed to be played. This is painful to watch. What the fuck is this? Like, it's so pathetic. Even just making the server was controversial. I don't understand this mentality. Now, granted, it's not like the actual Rust pros, like the Rust content creators that shared this mentality. A lot of the Rust content creators are in the server and having a lot of fun. It was just like pretty much exclusive to Rust professional spectators or people that have like 200 hours in the game, all spent hitting a tree in a public server and dying repeatedly as a naked person on a beach, that think everyone has to have that same experience with Rust. It's just sad shit. They're like Pain from Naruto. They've experienced so much pain that they just want to distribute it to everyone else in their fucking game. Sad. Really garbage shit. But the actual drama started pretty recently, so as the server began to expand and really blow up on Twitch, invites became more frequent and more people were being added to the server. As the floodgates were opening and the legs were spreading wider and wider until the vagina was fully agape, inviting every player that even had an interest in Rust into it, a lot of problems began to arise. Now, that's not to say that the server was without drama before a lot of people came in, because even in the first couple of days there was trivial drama and shouting matches in game where, you know, some people were joking, some people weren't. XQC would get mad, or at least he'd seem mad, and people would get upset at that, and you know, there was definitely some drama, but it didn't really start to blow up until a lot more people came in. And that brings us to today, where Charlie sits semi-chubbed in his chair talking to you about Rust drama. In response to so many people going to the PvP server and so much going on, Abe created a second server more focused on RP, but still mainly PvP. It's 70% PvP, 30% RP. On that server, that's where I have my waste management empire, where I run around collecting trash with a garbage truck, and on the other server is where I live my double life as a Team Rocket assassin. So there's a purpose for both servers, but the second one is much more exclusive and more focused on just making some enjoyable, goofy content, and the first one's that more cutthroat, coming for scalps, blood, sweat, tears, cum, titties, flying all over the place, gore, and hurt feelings everywhere. And in that server is where the drama begins, the genesis of all Rust drama. With a lot of big egos clashing in this Thunderdome, there was bound to be a catastrophic explosion of drama. So what really set it off is a couple of Rust veterans camping in bushes and killing people on site, just mindlessly murdering people in the streets without any attempt to communicate or make fun content out of it. They would just sit in the bush and kill people, hoping to make them mad, which would then be used for their YouTube video views. At least that's the narrative that's been going on. I wasn't in the server during that time. I was busy doing the actual important shit, collecting waste and human fecal matter on the other server, so I didn't see that firsthand. I've only seen the clips in some of the VODs. But these two events, it's like the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, these two events led to a whole fucking war on Twitter, on Twitch, on live stream fails, about whether or not these Rust veterans, did anything wrong. Because to the Rust professional viewers, that's just how they've always experienced the game. So to them, there was absolutely nothing wrong with just sitting in a bush for fucking 30 minutes, waiting for someone to ride by on a horse and just shooting them on sight and then looting them. That's normal to them. But to a new player that had no chance of fighting back and who doesn't even have that experience in the game, that's just fucking not fun. Like, that's just absolute dog shit. There's no fun to be had there. So it's been a huge debate, like, why are they getting punished? Why are people mad? It's just Rust. Learn how to play Rust, you pussies. And there's two sides to this argument, but there's a wrong side and a right side. The wrong side is the one that says they did nothing wrong. Like, when you go into the server, it literally just says, please just don't mindlessly kill people. Like, when XQC and Team Rocket would roll into a place, there was a whole storyline built up for it. There was a reason for it. When they made a kill, there was at least jokes exchanged, and by the end of it, most people were laughing. Of course, there were times that they weren't, but for the most part, when there were kills made, it was part of, like, this storyline. Oh, Team Rocket's rolling in, tumbleweeds rolling across the city as people close their doors and lock their kids and wife in the basement to avoid the wrath of Team Rocket. Like, it was goofy, fun shit. They were a cartoonish villain organization. But then, over the last couple days, it's more like, oh, don't ride down that road because a Rust pro might be waiting in a ghillie suit in one of the bushes to just shoot you on sight. Like, that's very different, and that's not fun. Again, the server was made to be more relaxed and focused on fun content in the game, with an emphasis on PvPing, because in Rust, it's fun to PvP, and it's more fun when you're PvPing with a purpose as opposed to just going for, like, a KD ratio in a survival game. A lot of the people in the Rust community that are vehemently defending this have, like, no level of self-awareness or social skills to recognize that this is just not in the spirit of what the server was for. I mean, even the fucking creator of Rust made this sarcastic tweet poking fun at this mentality. Like, it's just not hard to grasp, but there's a huge difference between PvPing with, like, a goofy storyline and joking around, and just waiting to kill people on sight for their loot. Even on this tweet, there were so many Rust players that were like, finally, Gary's speaking up. Yeah, these pussies just don't get real Rust like we do. And even in the tweet, like, he couldn't have made it more on-the-nose sarcastic. They couldn't even recognize the most basic level of sarcasm there. It's just this inability to read the room from some people to be like, yeah, that's kind of douchey to just kill for their loot on brand new players or constantly murdering naked people, you know? Like, it doesn't take a whole lot to get that concept. Now, that's not for all of the Rust veterans in the PvP server. It's only a handful. Most of them are just super helpful making their own goofy shit. Like, I think it's Ray. He started a hotel on the server. There's other players that started taxi services. So while it is a huge focus on PvP in that server, it's still mainly RP. Like, I visited an 18+ art gallery yesterday on that server. Like, it's still mainly RP with some PvP. So you really can't even use the argument that the server's meant to just be kill-on-site PvP all the time, because the majority of it is just a lot of people messing around, role-playing, and having fun. So there's really no way of defending it. Now, in response to all this drama that was blowing up that I was just talking about, 2 players, I believe, were banned from the server, which is where most of this drama just stemmed from, everyone debating whether or not they deserve the ban or shit like that. But I think it's pretty clear, like, they were playing it very differently from everybody else in that server, and in clear violation of the rules Abe set out. mainly no mindless killing. So you can argue whether or not a ban was warranted as opposed to just asking them, hey, can you just fucking stop this shit? Like that, you know, maybe you can argue that, but you can't really defend the actions of it. If I was still on that server and I was the victim of that shit, I probably would have just stopped playing, to be honest. That doesn't sound very fun. I saw a couple clips where, like, a girl was just standing out in the open, and then a guy ran in on a horse and just shot her on sight and took her shit. Then she had to respawn on the other side of the map. And that was, like, after, what, like 5 hours of collecting shit? And she was there waiting to, like, talk and joke and just got blasted. Like, that's not fun. I'd probably just throw my arms up in the air and be like, well, I'll switch games. So I do get it. It definitely seems like it was taking some of the fun out. And I just wanted to talk about it because I've been fucking loving Rust, and watching this drama kind of sucks because Abe doesn't deserve to have to deal with all that shit. Abe has done an incredible job with these servers and what he's done with Rust. It has been so fucking fun. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's about it. So yeah.